Do you think about your own mortality? Are you afraid of it?
Yes, but I keep going back to my idea of being able to expand human life quickly enough in advance of our getting there. Longevity, escape velocity, um, which we're not quite at yet, but I think we're actually pretty close, particularly with, for example, doing simulated biology. I think we can probably get there within, say, by the end of this decade. And that's my goal.
Do you hope to achieve the longevity, escape velocity? Do you hope to achieve immortality?
Well, immortality is hard to say. I can't really come on your program saying, I've done it. I've achieved immortality.
Right.
Because it's never forever.
A long time of living well.
But we'd like to actually advance human life expectancy, advance my life expectancy more than a year every year. And I think we can get there by the end of this decade.
How do you think we do it? So there's practical things in Transcend, the 9 Steps to Living Well Forever, your book. You describe just that. There's practical things like health, exercise, all those things.
And I mean, we live in a body that doesn't last forever. There's no reason why it can't, though. And we're discovering things, I think, that will extend it. But you do have to deal with, I mean, I've got various issues. Went to Mexico 40 years ago, developed salmonella that created pancreatitis, which gave me a strange form of diabetes. It's not type 1 diabetes because that's an autoimmune disorder that destroys your pancreas. I don't have that. But it's also not type 2 diabetes because type 2 diabetes is your pancreas works fine, but your cells don't absorb the insulin well. I don't have that either. The pancreatitis I had partially damaged my pancreas, but it was a one-time thing. It didn't continue. And I've learned now how to control it. But so that's just something I had to do in order to continue to exist.
So it's your particular biological system. You have to figure out a few hacks. And the idea is that science would be able to do that much better, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do spend a lot of time just tinkering with my own body to keep it going. So I do think I'll last till the end of this decade, and I think we'll achieve longevity, escape velocity. I think that will start with people who are very diligent about this. Eventually, it'll become sort of routine that people will be able to do it. So if you're talking about kids today, or even people in their 20s or 30s, it's really not a very serious problem. I have had some discussions with relatives who are like almost 100 and saying, well, we're working on it as quickly as possible, but I don't know if that's going to work.
Is there a case, this is a difficult question, but is there a case to be made against living forever? That a finite life, that mortality is a feature, not a bug. That living a shorter, so dying makes ice cream taste delicious, makes life intensely beautiful, more than
most people believe that way, except if you present a death of anybody they care about or love, they find that extremely depressing. And I know people who feel that way 20, 30, 40 years later, they still want them back. So, I mean, death is not something to celebrate, but we've lived in a world where people just accept this. Well, life is short. You see it all the time on TV. Oh, life's short. You have to take advantage of it. And nobody accepts the fact that you could actually go beyond normal lifetimes. But anytime we talk about death or death of a person even one death is a terrible tragedy. If you have somebody that lives to 100 years old, we still love them in return. And there's no limitation to that. In fact, these kinds of trends are going to provide greater and greater opportunity for everybody, even if we have more people.
So let me ask about an alien species or a super intelligent AI 500 years from now that will look back and remember Ray Kurzweil version 0, the before the replicants spread. How do you hope they remember you? In a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy summary of Ray Kurzweil, what do you hope your legacy is?
Well, I mean, I do hope to be around, so that's
some version of you, yes.
So,
do you think you'll be the same person around?
I mean, am I the same person I was when I was
That's true.
20 or 10? Or...
You would be the same person in that same way, but yes, we're different. We're different. All you have of that person is your memories, which are probably distorted in some way. Maybe you just remember the good parts, depending on your psyche. You might focus on the bad parts, might focus on the good parts.
Right. But, I mean, I'd still have a relationship to the way I was when I was younger.
How will you and the other super intelligent AIs remember you of today from 500 years ago? What do you hope to be remembered by, this version of you, before the singularity?
Well, I think it's expressed well in my books, trying to create some new realities that people will accept. I mean, that's something that gives me great pleasure, and greater insight into what makes humans valuable. I'm not the only person who's tempted to comment on that, but...
And optimism that permeates your work.
Mm-hmm.
Optimism about the future. Because ultimately that optimism paves the way for building a better future.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So you asked your dad about the meaning of life, and he said love. Let me ask you the same question. What's the meaning of life? Why are we here? This beautiful journey that we're on in phase 4, reaching for phase 5 of this evolution and information processing. Why?
Well, I think I'd give the same answer as my father. Because if there were no love and we didn't care about anybody, there'd be no point existing.
Love is the meaning of life. The AI version of your dad had a good point. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end it. Ray, thank you for your work. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for dreaming about a beautiful future and creating it along the way. And thank you so much for spending your really valuable time with me today. This was awesome.
Well, it was my pleasure. And you have some great insights, both into me and into humanity as well. So I appreciate that.